Hi, I'm Felicia Darling. I'm here again with another little Teachin It video. I'm here today with Lauralyn Larsen, and that's Larsen with an E, right?
Yes, thank you.
Lauralyn, that's how I remember.
And Lauralyn's one word.
And Lauralyn's one word, in case you're wondering. Lauralyn works in work experience right here at the SRJC, but you've worn a lot of hats here in the past, and you've been here for how long?
7 years.
7 years, okay. And also you have a counseling background, right?
That's my primary field, yes.
In what?
That's my primary field.
That's your primary field, that's what I thought. And so we're going to hear some exciting, because I interviewed you for the book. You're included in the book, Teachin It. I'm the author of Teachin It. I also teach math in the College Skills Department here at Santa Rosa Junior College. And I interviewed Lauralyn for the book, so I know she has this counseling background that she brings in her classes. And so that's kind of exciting. I hope we hear about that.
Great, I will.
And so let's see. I'm going to ask 3 questions. I have to remember this. I don't need index cards anymore. Anyone who's seen the earlier videos, watch me fumbling. No index cards. I remember the 3 questions. Yeah. So the first question I'm going to ask Lauralyn is, why do you like teaching at or working at the community college? Why do you love it, I bet, is even a better question, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then my second question is, how do you start your classes? What do you do on the first day to launch a class? This gets at a lot about your philosophy of teaching and like how you set the stage for what happens in your classes as the semester progresses. And then the third question is just, what other strategies can you think of that you'd like to share with? And you can kind of look at me or you can kind of look at the camera. I bet the viewers right now are thinking, oh, I like it when you look at the camera. So
okay,
we're going to try that.
and keep that. It's looking at a machine.
Yeah. And Emily Hansen is here behind the scenes doing the lights and the videotaping, the post-production, and she's in the room with us today too, although you guess you never see her. I guess that's the way it is. Oh, she's shaking her head. No, you will never be seeing her. Good to know. All right, moving on.
Mystery woman.
Mystery, yes. She also teaches at the SRJC. All right, so first question is, what do you like, what do you really like about teaching at the community college? Why are you here?
Why am I here? It's getting to purpose, which is one of my main cores of what I actually teach. But it's very important to me that my values and personhood kind of match up with what I'm teaching, what I'm doing. And community colleges fit that best. So I've been in the California community colleges most of my career, although I did have opportunity to do some at Cal State and some at a private university. So I've been exposed to those. I didn't last very long, even at graduate school, because they were too homogeneous in terms of a population for me. And I really like the fact that the community college in California teaches to everyone. Anyone can walk through the door, and if there's something of interest for them, they will take the class. Cool. And so you get everyone in your class. And I've had, my almost 30 years of teaching, I've had just about everyone in my class. It feels like. Of course, it's always surprising. 30
years is a long time, so you have seen a lot.
I know, but it's fun because there's always a new story. Every single person who walks in is a unique individual. The other real major mission, I would say, for general community college, why I love community college, is because it allows people who did not come from a place of privilege or a place of opportunity. They didn't have any role models maybe in their families, or they're low income, or they're disadvantaged in some other way. It allows them to come through a system that gives them a lot of support and really allows them to flourish and find out new things about themselves. And I just love seeing that, because it's kind of what I do with students, is I allow that to come out in all the work I do with my counseling background, and specifically with career development, which is my specialty.
I see. So your first thing you love, why you like teaching about community college, was about it's aligned to your value system.
Very much.
And and you've tried other things. I've tried other institutions, and the second reason is that it's is a really diverse student body, and you like.
But that also is part of my value system, so it's not separated.
I see.
And then there's a third thing I wanted to note, was why I'm at Santa Rosa JC. And so I actually went to Santa Rosa JC as a student and loved my education. I transferred to Berkeley, and I found my education at Santa Rosa JC was actually higher quality than the coursework and teaching I received at Berkeley.
She's not getting paid to say that, folks.
And it's absolutely true,
Wow.
with a couple of exceptions of teachers, even graduate school. I'm telling you, the teachers
Wow.
here were just amazing.
The quality is really
The
good.
quality is real, and it's just a A+ team. I mean,
Yeah.
the people here are very high quality. So I have and then coming back here. So I just came back here 5 years ago. I moved back.
Oh.
I commuted for a couple of years. and
you don't
I
have
was
to
in
mention-
Napa.
Okay,
but
yep.
Not too far, but still.
Yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
love being back in Sonoma County. So it's fun returning.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool. Wow.
So love Santa Rosa JC.
Great, thanks. I love that. Yeah, this isn't a commercial for the JC,
I know,
but I
but I
agree.
had to say
I agree
that.
with everything you say.
Yeah,
that's
you're
why,
new.
That's why I'm interviewing
Yeah.
people, because I'm like, that is so awesome. Oh my God, I'm trying all these strategies when I interview people, and your strategies as well that I put in the book.
Right.
I'm using those in my classroom, because you're right. The instructors here are just so committed to getting better and better and better.
Better, yes.
And I think they're doing things that other people aren't doing.
Right.
So it's worth listening to them and then write it down. I'm going to try that,
Yeah.
And,
And,
yeah.
and then, as you know, I wear a professional development hat, too. I'm the
Oh, yeah, that's
faculty
right.
professional development coordinator, and I love the fact that teachers are so committed to their own growth.
Yeah.
If we're not growing and learning as teachers, we can't expect our students to. So
Yeah.
I think it's all about us developing our
Yeah.
craft even more. Yeah. So
Well, there you go. Thank you. I've never taught at a different California community college, so this is the standard for me is the
Yes.
JC, and I love it. But anyway,
think I've
it's not
been at
about me.
4.
Oh wow! So you get to shop a bit. Okay, so thank you so much, Lauralyn. The next question is, what do you do on that first day of class to launch your class? Just any strategies, anything that you want to share with people who might be like wanting to think, maybe I could try that in my class.
Yes, yes. Well, I'll tell you, as a counselor who was a counselor first before I became a teacher, I was actually way back when a little terrified of teaching. And because I just lean a little closer to the introverted side than the extroverted side, just a little.
Interesting.
And so I had to really develop that stand up and talk in front of people. And when I first started, I was terrified. So I thought immediately, I started reading the research and thinking, I need to figure out how to engage these students because I don't want to sit here and talk the whole time. And so immediately I would start researching how I could engage students.
Oh.
It fosters itself to my field, which is my counseling background, and helping students to discover more about themselves, their own personal strengths, so that they can then make better decisions and be better prepared in school. So one of the first things I do in the semester is, often I'll have them, instead of walking in a lecture format through the syllabus, I'll have them talk about it in a pair share.
Okay.
And just, ask each other questions or I'll prompt a question and have them talk about it. But what I love the most in my first day that I almost do at every first class or second class is I do a background information sheet on my students. So I usually have 25 to 35 students in my class. And I will have them just pull out a piece of paper, give me their name, tell them that the form is really just for me to learn about them because I don't have time to meet with them all early on, although I'd love to. So I ask them a bunch of questions, and some of them are very practical, and then some of them are rather open-ended. So I find out how many units they're taking and how much they're working and what kind of classes they're taking and what their major is, or if they're undecided, which I want to know because it's related usually to my class. And then I get into some more exploratory questions about, a simple question, but why are you taking my class? What is it you hope to walk away with? And it's interesting what you come up with, some of the things that you hear. And so not always the reason you think that they're taking your class. So some of them will say, oh, I just need units. Well, that's an honest answer. And but most people are, I'm confused, I don't know what to do, I need more help, I need support.
And which classes is that you're talking about?
Well, I teach, primarily now I teach career development. I've taught a lot of different coursework in the counseling field. I've also taught in human services.
Okay.
So that's the...
But you do this in any course.
But I do it in any
Okay,
course.
yeah,
So
okay.
I just gear some of the questions more towards the content of the course.
Sure.
So the courses I'm teaching right now are in career development and helping students kind of transition to work. So I tend to ask questions around those topics.
That makes sense. Sure.
How prepared are you? What do you feel like you need the most? And then one of the great questions that I encourage every instructor to ask is, what is it that you feel like you need to be successful in this class?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that's
what do they say for what do you get back from that? That sounds really interesting.
I can phrase it a couple of ways.
Okay.
Like, that's a good one.
Okay.
And so often you'll
Wait, could you say it one more time?
What do you need in order to be successful in this class? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Another good question is, what barriers do you feel you have and that will affect how things are going in the class, or affect you in school?
Okay.
As a counselor, of course, I want to know that so I can refer them to other services, but sometimes it's just really personal. And they'll share it to you, just right up front. Now, some instructors may not want to know those things, but I think it's still important because we're still responsible for addressing, of course, their learning disabilities or their different learning needs. Like I need someone who writes clearly on the board. I mean, it can be real simple stuff, or it can be more, I'm really struggling because my mother is sick and I'm taking care of my siblings and I don't know how to juggle all this. So sometimes you'll get a story, and it's not a lot. So with 30 students, I may only have 2 or 3 that I need to address immediately. I also ask them for contact information, because what's on our computer system for the student, is their email accurate? Is their phone number accurate? And then I just kind of keep those. So it's just a nice way to get to know your students. And I immediately go home that night or the next night and just read about my students so that I have a feel for my class. And it helps me because I also address how I'm going to teach based on some of the feedback they've given me, and I can change up exercises, and I can change ways of communicating, and I think classes have temperaments. I mean, I think that a class is like a talkative class, a really social class, versus a really quiet. It also matters what time of day you're teaching. All those things matter in terms of how students are responding to you.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. So I had one of the funny ones I had is I had a student tell me that she didn't say she didn't like me, but she immediately said, she immediately said, "You remind me of my sister, and I don't get along with my sister."
Good to know.
Yeah. So I kind of addressed it right up because it's kind of like, okay, well, I'm not your sister.
Oh, wow.
And
wow, that's funny.
My mannerisms might remind you of that, but
that's funny.
Anyway, so that's one of the funny ones that came up. But so most of the time, it's very, very helpful in ways that I can just address and be more personable with the student.
So one of the things you use is information. I like those last 2 questions. I recorded them separate from the video so I could go look at them and try them next semester. Especially those 2, because they add a lot. And then the contact information.
Barriers. What are your barriers? And what is it you really want me to know about you?
Right. Wait, didn't you say what do you need?
What do you need? Yeah. The way I phrase. I have it written out.
I have it now on, so I can go and transcribe it because I want to get it right. But anyway, and I thought you said maybe they share out a little bit.
Yes. Okay. So then I am careful about sharing too much and giving them permission to pass on anything. So I do a lot of sharing, and I know there's students who don't like that. Overall, I found that they warm up even the students who, quote, don't like it.
Okay.
So, and if I know that they don't like it and they've told me, sometimes I'll work around it in different ways. But I always give students permission to pass. Okay. But what I'll do is I'll ask them, sometimes I'll throw in like a funny question, like, what's one unique quality about yourself that people may not notice right away?
Oh, okay.
Something kind of unique and fun, or what's the, I might ask something very, very current, like what is something you've done this last week that was a step, depending on what I'm teaching, a step towards, taking care of yourself while you're at school. Something kind of fun. And then I ask them to share whatever they feel comfortable sharing on their sheet in a pair. So share it out, and if we have time, which is not always the case, I might have some people introduce their partners and that sort of thing. Yeah.
One of the things I want to mention, in case you don't mention it later, because I put it in my book, is this idea that you pretty consistently do, because you talk about a lot of introverts, and maybe you'll talk about that later, is that you don't just do a think, pair, share.
Right.
You do a think, write, pair,
that's
share.
an exercise, that
but
I do.
But you kind of do that in everything, it sounds like.
I do. And so I'm just really sensitive, I think, because I grew up as a really quiet child.
Okay.
And I've kind of gotten more...
I would not have guessed that, by the way.
I know, because I'm very social now.
Yeah, I know.
But, and
getting interviewed.
It's kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I moved my scale of being much more introverted into a stronger extroversion, but I still lean towards needing to have time to myself. So I'm very sensitive to students who are needing to think first, because I do consider myself like I want to think about a question, not just blurt it, and that takes time. So I'll never forget the research that shows that that young children need, what is it, like 7 seconds to think about something.
Okay.
Now 7 seconds doesn't sound like much, and I don't know if it's exactly 7, 9, 6, something like that. But if you count it out loud, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, what classroom have you been in?
That's an eternity in classroom time.
You sit and wait that long for an answer. Like the whole class is quiet.
Yeah.
And you sit there for 10 seconds and wait for an answer.
Not
Not very many teachers do it.
In TV world, that was long too. Right?
That was long too. I know.
It was a good point.
But that's why I did it, because
Yeah.
it's like, God, get to the point. Like somebody say something, or the teacher will get nervous and say something.
Yeah, sounds like me.
So what I try and do is I have them do reflective writing first before I ask a question.
Which is what you did on the first day, is what you're saying.
Yes.
They wrote down their answers.
They wrote their answers, then they share in a pair, or then I might ask them questions in front of the group. So I do a lot of that with my exercises so that they get a chance to think and then talk.
Yep.
If I don't do that, I find that the same small group of students talk.
Right, the extroverts.
The extroverts, the ones that have a lot to say,
Oh,
and
interesting. That's not that's not being equitable.
It's not very
Yeah.
being equitable, and I don't like to pick on people. So I find that I often will say, is there someone else who would like to share? Someone who hasn't shared before. You hear that a lot from teachers.
Okay.
But I like that reflecting time as well.
I just want to make sure we mentioned that, because I don't think everyone does the think, write, pair, share.
Yes.
They do think, pair, share.
Think, pair, share.
But you do the think, write, pair, share.
Yes.
Okay. What else do you do on the first day that you'd like to share? Anything else you can think of on that first day to launch the class?
Actually,
or the first week even, just the first couple days.
First day or two. Students love to learn about themselves.
Huh.
They love to learn about themselves, and so they love my class because of that, because I believe that if they have a strong base of self-knowledge, that they will be better at their decision-making, better at their choices. They even will do more of the simple things, like pay attention to their time management, which is a problem for every student, it seems. So I try and do exercises that increase that kind of self-knowledge and agency that they have within themselves. And I had an idea of what I was doing with that.
Oh, you're like...
I know, I thought the exercise.
What do you do in the first
day
or two of the first week that another strategy to launch the class?
Yes, thank you. Okay, it came back to me.
Hey, it's Friday. Hey,
it's Friday.
Hey, we're on a Friday doing this, so all you instructors who are,
She took me off on a little tangent there. So I often will give like a fun assessment. So we do a lot of things online.
Okay.
Things that they can do on their computers, but often I'll be in a computerized classroom. I like teaching with either laptops or computerized classroom.
Oh, nice.
And I'll have them go online and do a fun assessment that is actually a major tool that I might be introducing later. So it's a way to introduce this tool to them, but then do something fun that gives them an immediate outcome.
Like what? Like you been talking Myers-Briggs?
Yeah. It's
something
something kind of like that. Like I really like.
We want to be careful about our little flowers.
So sorry.
Because it might make the mic be weird. You
my mic's in there.
I don't know. Our mic is in there somewhere.
I see it. Okay. Anyway, I'm not used to this.
Yeah, it's all new to all of us.
So. I'll do
that.
I'll do like on Eureka, which is a program we use in career development.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I'll use True Colors. True Colors is 4 colors. It's a simplistic way of helping people start to think about careers they're interested in.
I want to do
it. And so they love it's fun. Everyone loves it. And so they do it, and then they're like, wow, I'm an orange, and look at all these crazy careers that I have related to being the color orange. And of course, the color orange is related to personality and interest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's a way they kind of, like you said, they start exploring their self-knowledge, and then you can use that as a springboard for other activities.
Yes, instead of just saying, okay, now we're going to learn about this Eureka program, I just like kind of launch them into it and
nice.
Teach them as they go along.
Are you writing that down, Emily?
Bounce with a pen.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to share about the second day to launch the class?
Not particularly.
Okay.
Not anything special. I mean,
there might be some other things.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I'm not reading the book right now, but there's some other things. But now we can open it up. So you answered, what do you love about teaching at the community college? What do you do in the first day? Now, just in general, if you could just share with us any strategies, any practices, anything you do that you really like and you're finding that really works. Even if you want to share things that you tried and you're like, not going to do that anymore, or maybe something you tried and you've been refining with time.
Right.
But just basically the question is, any other strategies you'd like to share?
Strategy. Well, one of the fun things that I do, again, because I like reflection, I like students to come in, and I think students come in from their very diverse backgrounds and lives, and they come in with either a lot on their mind, or in kind of a distracted mode. And so I often will start, and I try and find a quote related to the topic I'm teaching that day. And so I find a quote, a meaningful quote, or maybe a couple that they could choose from, 2 or 3, and I'll put it up, usually, docu-camera or whatever, overhead, and I'll ask them to write about that quote and what that quote means to them. And so it gets, and I do a 5-minute free write. So I call it, I say you're not turning in, sometimes I do have them turn it in. Because you can also use the 5-minute free write as a way of checking attendance, if you're doing any attendance checking, or if they're being on time in class, and if that's important to you.
Oh, that's a good way to push them a little more towards being on time.
You don't have to say anything.
You missed the free write, there was a grade.
Yeah, you don't have to make them sign in and do all that.
Oh, interesting.
And so I'll have them do a 5-minute.
Is this a tapping into prior knowledge? Is that why you do this activity, or no? You're doing it for a bigger reason.
I'm doing it to tie in to so that they start thinking about what it is I'm going to be teaching.
Okay.
And usually I can find something related to it, because I teach a lot of what we call soft skills.
Okay.
Employability skills. Things that aren't always super tangible. I mean, they have definitions to them, but I want them to think about it before. So I just find that if I give them a free write exercise, that I can get them focused on what I'll be introducing that day. Or it could be a tie-in from last week.
I see.
So you could even do a free write that talks about reflecting on what they learned from last week.
Oh, so you could actually sum things up with that, or you could introduce a topic.
Right.
Now, can you think of, I know it's hard, it's Friday afternoon, I'm putting some pressure on you. Can you think of what was one of the latest quotes that maybe you put up? I know.
No.
all right.
No, that's too
I
much
didn't think
of a stretch.
so. You had to prepare
Yeah,
for that.
I really, I do it kind of randomly. And
Okay,
I
just when it comes to you and you're like,
I'm
this
like,
would be the perfect
I'm
quote.
teaching on, study skills. And then I might do something where, it's related to how it's important to have a focus on
Okay.
studying, and you need, or time management, and there's a lot of quotes out there on, you know, how to use your time and how to prioritize things that are important to you, and
Okay.
so whatever kind of my underlying meaning is, I'm trying to get across.
Kind of
I'll
just
try and
comes to you
find,
sometimes.
Yeah, I'll just try and find a quote on that.
That's
But
the
I-
danger of teaching for as long as you have.
You
is
start to
that
do it.
You have
Yeah.
so many things to pull in.
Yes.
It's almost, it seems intuitive to the onlooker, but actually you've been doing this for a long. You're pulling all these threads in, and you're just there one day and you're like, oh, this is the
This would
quote
be a
I'm
good
going to
one.
do, and it just comes to you.
Yeah, and I do have a bank of quotes that I pull from, but
That's good. I want to see your bank of quotes. That sounds really good. That
But-
sounds like a great idea.
But I will say I tend not to teach any class the same way.
Oh, interesting.
You keep the core, but I'd say each of my classes tends to be different, and I throw in a new, or we become more and more experienced. So you kind of you throw in something new, and you see if it's going to work, or you've heard about it from someone else. Like I read your book, and I'm like, that's a great
I'm gonna
idea.
try that.
So I'm going to try that.
Oh,
yeah.
so you're always refining your instruction. Plus,
Yes.
unlike many instructors, I think you're doing an assessment of who the students are a little more thoroughly, and you're actually, sounds like you're customizing a class to who's in that class right then.
Yes,
I don't think everyone
absolutely.
does that. I think that's
Absolutely.
a really high level skill. I'm not sure everyone could do that right now. They would have to work on that and develop that over years.
Right.
Yeah.
And I try and bring in outsiders too. So I bring in guest speakers. Something more recently that I've been doing on the background information sheet, I will ask students to list some of the careers they're thinking about. This is for my career development class. And then I'll try, if I get some overlapping themes, I'll try and bring in some guest speakers.
Okay.
Students love that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And I've brought in, and it's interesting because you think, well, everyone's not interested in that career, so isn't that kind of biased? At this young, not necessarily that everyone in my class is young, because the age range can be
Community
can
college.
be 16 to 84, and I've had every age group in my class.
Wow.
But they're still being exposed to things that maybe they didn't think about before.
Right.
And
right.
so
So,
it's
so there's a
fun.
lot of engagement, even when it's
Even
when someone,
it's somebody who you're thinking, I'm never going to go into healthcare.
Oh, interesting.
And then they're like, oh, wow, you can do that in healthcare? I never even thought of that.
Oh, interesting.
So it
still
makes them
opens up
think,
possibilities.
because most young people think very superficially about careers.
Because they have what they have. They have the knowledge they have, right?
what they know, and what they know is usually from their family
Ah.
or the media.
Uh.
Yeah, both of which can be very limited in
Right,
scope.
right.
So
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's kind of a fun one.
Yeah, that is interesting. Any other strategies you want to share?
Oh,
that
I'm
you've
sure there's
tried?
tons.
I know.
Let's
I know.
see.
You like whatever
now you're
comes
making
to your
me
mind.
think of them, and I
Yeah,
didn't.
I mean-
should have gone through my.
Yeah, you know
course.
what? It's a Friday afternoon.
I know,
I think
I know.
we're doing really well.
Yes. Okay. I did have another fun one. So
Fifth week in the semester. I think we're doing really well here.
Exactly. Think, pair, share. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The guest speakers I like bringing in when it's appropriate and relevant. I like getting students out, so I like to get them. I like to create assignments where they're having to go out and talk to people, even if it's professors in their classes. Like, it's an amazing. I don't know if you could throw it under study skills strategies, but I just have students go out and go to an office hour of one of their other professors.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing how many students who have never gone to a professor's office hour, and they think that, like,
It's this mystery
it's
thing.
some scary thing or whatever, and then they go there and they're like, "That was really great."
Wow. Wow.
It's
That's
just
a great. That's a great.
really simple things that we can do to help empower students to be more resourceful and take more responsibility for their education and ask the second question.
Oh, that's a good idea to get them to ask more questions. It pushes them a little out of their comfort
It
zone by
pushes them in
requiring
there.
them to go to
Yep.
the office. I remembered you, it's in the book, I think, is you took actually students on a field trip, because I'm in my class, right, and I'm always like, go to the tutorial center. It's over there. Go to here, right? But they don't go there until they've been there once.
Right.
But you give them like suggested like a little tour, like on, I don't know if it's the first day or something.
We can do a tour. It again kind of reflects back on what they need. So if a lot of people are needing tutoring, I definitely would want to do that. I mean, there's a couple ways to do it. It depends on the focus of the class, but sending them on a scavenger hunt in small groups is really fun too.
Oh, during class on a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, so they have to go
groups.
out and find out, how many. You give them a questionnaire, and then they have to go out and investigate these offices and do it as a group. And
that's a good
something
idea.
like that. But yes, if there's something that we're trying to focus on to tie that in to the resources of the campus, if a lot of the barriers tend to be around financial, for example, which tends to be a big barrier in community college students, they're just struggling financially. In addition to helping them get better jobs, which is always my big push,
All right.
a lot of them just don't even think to apply for financial aid or scholarship,
Oh, wow.
or they think it's too much work, and I kind of break it down. Okay, if you got a $500 scholarship and you put in 3 hours for that application, what's that on an hourly basis?
Oh, that's a good
for
math
you?
problem for my class.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great problem for math. I'm always looking for problems you
even
can use in math
$100
like that.
scholarship.
Right.
The fact is
Still more
once you
than what they're
start
getting
writing
paid.
an essay and get your application together, then you can start applying for multiple scholarships. Yeah, so tying it in.
Yeah, I'm always looking for ways to. How do you tie in the career, the resources on campus that I want to help provide for them with my content? And
Yes.
that's a great way, right there. It's a math
Another
problem.
one is having them put together a personal budget. Do you ever have them do that?
I've not had them do that. That's a good idea.
And it's just amazing.
And then that's like a money management.
It's a money
thing,
management
'cause they don't
issue,
know.
but
They're
it's
they're
relevant to
overwhelmed
real
and-
life, and they don't think about how many expenses go into living on their own. Although
Yeah.
I'd say half our students do live on their own at least.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so
Great. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to recap all the strategies you mentioned. I know that I can remember the Think Right Pair Share, bringing in outside speakers, the
it's a lot of
assessment you do.
interactions.
A lot of interactions,
interactive-
assessments you do the first day. You get them in these getting to know themselves type of activities.
A lot
online.
of self-knowledge.
The quotes that could either help to review what they did, kind of bring together, summarize, close what you did last class, or a quote that actually opens up classes, right?
Yes.
Yes. That's kind of a tapping into prior knowledge in that they're like thinking about how do they feel about it before they actually talk about maybe what some of the academic relationships are between what they're thinking and the content and the quote. Anything else you can think of, or did I miss anything that you mentioned?
Oh, I'm sure. But I wasn't keeping track.
So many things, I know.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot for self-knowledge. And the other thing I have found is students don't really talk that well about themselves.
Oh.
And if you think about it, most of us have to sell ourselves somewhere along the line in life. Interview is the most common one.
Okay.
And it's a skill. It's a skill. So and our culture kind of says that's bragging. That's kind of a negative quality to brag about yourself. So a lot of the self-knowledge tools that I use to help them know their strengths, know what they're good at, start trusting what they're good at. I get them to talk out loud about it, and that's so the pair share is not just to kind of loosen them up and help them talking, but really for a purpose of talking about themselves, which we don't do that well as a culture, and so it's a nice way for them to say, let's use their personality strengths to talk about themselves in a positive way, and not bring up their negative qualities.
Oh, interesting.
And then we can build on that later in the classes.
I think I remember that, and I put that in the book about you scaffolding. So there, ultimately, you want them to learn how to go to a job interview and answer those kinds of questions. So you had all this scaffolding that happened before that, like building, like finding out who you are, what are your strengths, and then also in small groups talking, and then in larger groups talking, and then eventually like in an interview type setting talking.
And I'll have them do presentations, but I'll scaffold it so it's not overwhelming to them. So
can you explain? A lot of people ask me like, what is scaffolding? Can you explain that? So
So a simple way of scaffolding, if I want them to get to a point where they're comfortable talking in front of people.
Okay.
Okay.
A big group.
And I got a group of introverts who hate doing that.
Okay.
Right? I just, as an example. And so you start out with a pair share.
Think pair share, right?
Think
right pair share.
Think right
It's
pair
the right,
share.
because that's what I remember.
I
A really
like the
important
writing.
feature
Yes.
of yours was, I was like, oh, that should be the first
Think
thing.
about it,
Yep.
then write it, then talk about
Right,
it.
right.
And so pair share's great at first. Then opening it up a little bigger. Let's get in groups of 4.
Ah.
And so they have to talk among, and it's amazing. You start getting the groups bigger, and you'll see people start to shut down.
Ah.
And so the bigger I get the groups, the more structure I provide to the group.
Ah.
Who's the facilitator today?
Like you facilitate. You are
Yes.
now facilitate. The
And
bigger
I
it gets,
define
you're
those
more
roles.
facilitate.
Who's the timekeeper? Who's
Okay.
going to be reporting out? And then, so the bigger the group gets, the more structure I find that they tend to need.
Okay.
And they need to know who's doing what
interesting.
role so that you're engaging everyone. Okay, facilitator, it's important that if someone's not speaking or hasn't had a chance to talk, that you're supposed to draw them and ask them the
Oh,
question.
interesting.
And then I will give an assignment like they go out and do informational interviews and they go out and talk to people who are doing something they might want to do.
Okay.
Then they have to write a report. They have to write it.
Okay.
And then after the report is written, then they go on and so that's the scaffolding in a
Yep.
sense. So it's starting out talking just a little bit out loud. Then it's talking in a group out loud. Then it's writing out what you're going to say, which is the informational interview.
Right.
And then I ask them to speak in front of the group and
The whole
share it
class?
with everyone. Yes.
Oh, wow.
But I found that they don't like, I'm not giving a speech class. So,
Yeah.
but I'm just giving them some of those tools to get ready for those things.
Right.
And so what I found is I usually will do it in a group, in a circle. So I have them stay seated, and I have them sit, and it's just more casual than like, standing up and talking formally
sure.
at a podium or something like that. And so that's the scaffolding that you start out small, you build a little bit more skill, a little more confidence, a little bit more. And I've only had, so I don't put a ton of weight on the talking, in front of the whole group.
Grade-wise?
Grade-wise. I don't give it a heavy point system. So if there's somebody who feels they have to pass, they're just giving up that point, and it's not half the grade.
Ah. But so you don't just say, you don't just
You
lower
have
your
to.
standards and you don't just go, well, if you don't do that, that's fine. You say, if you don't do that, there's a consequence.
There's a consequence.
But it's not
and
super high stakes.
It's not a super high stakes. I only had, my last class, I only had one student who absolutely refused to do it, and I come to find out the barrier was really, really high anxiety.
Oh, wow.
And, so what I did is I came up with an alternative assignment. He pulled me aside, told me about it, and wanted to do something differently and didn't want to lose the points. And so I did come up with an alternative assignment for him.
Cool. So that's another strategy.
That's
It's
just
like
another strategy.
very
like trying to
differentiating
adjust-
assessments.
Yeah, trying to adjust to students' need without...
It's almost like because you have those counseling skills, it's almost like you're kind of counseling the whole class. Like you're actually keeping more aware of the classroom culture maybe than other instructors
I
have the
pay a
skills
lot
to
of
do.
attention to the culture because
Yeah.
I think peer-to-peer is more effective sometimes than instructor-to-peer.
Yeah, that
or
makes a lot
instructor
of
to
sense.
student.
Right.
And so by the end of the class, I try and have kind of a community.
Yeah.
And I try and make it fun, too. So we tend to throw, after our last final test, whatever we're doing in that last day, I tend to throw a party.
Oh, that's fun.
And it's potluck. Everybody bring food, and
Okay.
don't tell the support staff that I do that because we're not supposed to have food in the classroom.
They're
but-
all going to know that.
Uh-oh.
This is a video.
and so, anyway, so no, I
Sweet.
I always make sure we clean up after ourselves.
So
But
don't worry.
but I tend to have them just bring some fun food.
Okay. So you really do
and-
build a community.
And it's fun because
culture.
then you see people and they become friends. I also have them share numbers with one another so that again, voluntary.
Okay.
But in order if they're going to miss
good
a
idea.
class and they need to learn about the assignment, and I don't have to do all the follow up. So they don't come
Right,
to me
right,
and
right.
say, Lauralyn, I forgot. I'm not going
Yeah.
to be in class on Thursday. What's going to happen? I
And
said,
that's better for them in the future because
check
faculty
with
are
your
going to
check
want
with
you
your
to-
one of your your peers.
Oh, that's a good
And
idea.
that takes the weight off the instructor getting bombarded.
That's a really good idea.
So,
and they shouldn't be bombarding the instructor with that. They should find ways to get that
To get the
by looking at the
information.
PowerPoints or the
Right.
syllabus or
Which is on
students
Canvas,
first,
yeah,
right.
those kind of things.
Save the hard questions, right, for faculty.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind providing support, but if it's
Yeah.
something where they're
Yeah.
missing a class,
Yeah.
these are the ways you can
Oh, yeah, that is pretty cool.
get it. And peers, I think, are really important.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
Sounds
I'm
like you have a real
amazed.
community of learners at the end.
But
like
I'm
you're having a
amazed
party.
at how many students feel really isolated in our classes. They're sitting in our class, they're sitting in groups, and they feel really disconnected. And it's one of the major reasons students don't stay in school, is they don't feel connected somewhere. Either to a person like a teacher,
Right.
or a peer, they have a friend,
feel like they don't
or
belong.
a department, they just don't feel like
If
they
they're a
belong.
first-gen college
Yep.
student, they're like really feeling already they're on borrowed time. They're
Right.
like, oh, do I really belong here? The imposter syndrome.
Right.
Yeah, and I see the community of learners can help to alleviate that. It's like, oh, I belong here. I'm connected to
Yes.
all these people. This
Yeah.
is where I like it here. Right?
Yeah, and that's the students who tend to really thrive and gain their confidence and
Yeah.
start moving forward in leaps and bounds. I mean, I love their stories.
That's
They're
cool.
great stories. So,
So, anything else you'd like to share? Any other strategy or anything that's popping into your head? You're like, what about this? Maybe I should share that. Is there any one last?
nothing's coming.
It
to
is
me.
Friday afternoon. Again, I
yeah.
said that, and we're awesome for being here doing this on a Friday afternoon.
That's plenty.
Emily as well. Extra kudos to us.
Yes.
All right, well, I guess that's it. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Lauralyn Larsen, for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I hope people get a lot out of this. Thanks
Great.
a lot. Bye.
Thank
We can
you.
go like this.
Bye.